So I was able to complete what I started last vlog, which essentially I wanted my game to create the border tiles that surround the kind of play area for the city. And this is the area where the players kind of move around and start to gain money by landing on squares which are related to the market. Here, as you can see, it is doing what I want it to do. And what it's doing is essentially it's creating these three and checking to make sure that they're not duplicated, then creating another three. And I do this all using a mix of for loops, if statements, and they check an array which then instantiates an object related to another array. In doing this, I was actually able to also learn of a new loop called the while true loop. And I'll show you the code for that. So in my code here, it starts off with a for loop that is using both border height or border width down the line to figure out which direction it needs to go to instantiate and how many it needs to instantiate. I have a border height and border width, even though right now it's square, so it's kind of, they're both the same. It's really just there in case I want to experiment with like a different size board. And eventually down the line, I'm hoping to make it so it's scalable and I don't really even need to touch anything. But this is just the beginning of it. So after it's checked to see if, if as it's going through the for loop, what it's doing is it's first making a random integer that it's then putting into an array, and then checking the array to make sure that the array isn't duplicating that same integer. I have that in this function right here, which is way down here, because unfortunately I need to do some cleanup. But these two functions here use a while true loop, which was really helpful that I found out about this. And with all my research that I did, I'm so glad I put the time and effort into it. But really all it does is it allows me to have an if statement that checks to make sure that these two are not equal, and if they're equal, regenerate or do another random variable, do it again, set it inside the array, and then check the array. So, and then once it finally does, it breaks out of the while true loop and then continues down the for loop, which is up here. So yeah, there's a lot of code, as you can see. I'm like scrolling around here. There's probably about 100 lines of code here, and I probably could make this a little bit neater by incorporating more functions that I'm kind of like grabbing like all of this here and putting it into a function, so that way it just does the function and I just put in variables. But that is for later. For now, I am very proud of myself and what I've been able to accomplish, and I really like the game. It's coming along very nicely, and I can't wait to get to the movement, which I think might be next. We'll see. We'll see what the next vlog says.